Mae'n os yn disgyn dros y menito a lewad o'n ei hanelu mae sôn i telyn o'n y cod o'n golly ddylir telwydd te.
Croeso and welcome to Tales from Wales, the pod that never fails to fill your cup with drink and your head with tales of the past, to pull up the history by the root and serve it up as a delicious audio meal, and to answer the question, please, could I have some Welsh history with? You want some? I'll give it you. That's to call back to the last episode when we did a football chant, okay? And for me, that's pretty good, I'd say. Remembering that little scrawny guy who did, you want some?
I remember the Wales Stone Raider. Don't worry about me. I'm king of the memes. You can't keep memeing me.
You're king of the memes, baby. You can't keep a meme from me. Do you remember when he did a Sports Direct advert for Wildstone?
I remember he did. No, I don't remember that one. He's done loads of adverts though. He's done like one for Paddy.
So
Power.
funny. It was like here's a discount. He went, if you want a discount, I'll give it you. And I was like, good, great creative genius right there. Like,
well, I've really seen him do like a lad book, a lad Bible thing where he's like all sad. It's like him and like another guy where it's like they're interviewing like one hit wonders, but mean one hit wonders. And it's and he's like, yeah, she's actually quite tough because everywhere I go, they're like, you want some? I give it you. And he's clearly a little, bit of an oddball, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't really think the fame has been all
also,
that
I love that. Going, it's really annoying because that one thing I did that everyone knows about, they keep mentioning it. It's like, yeah, well, that's kind of how it works, mate.
Yeah, but that is the modern day one hit wonder, isn't it? Being a
being memeified. Yeah. Although she got into loads of trouble because she made a meme coin and fucking absolutely fleeced people. Yeah.
I still occasionally see the bit popping up.
Hark coin.
Yeah, hark coin. That's a real sign of the times.
I just think, like, I get it. Like, so a lot of us missed the Bitcoin bubble. Like, we could have made money back in the day if we'd all invested, of course. But now, just because some fucking Haley Welsh comes out with Hawk coin, you go, this is me going to make it big.
I actually asked Chatters, I asked ChatGPT why would someone ever invest in it, and is it clearly just a like scam? And they're like, it's like it's like
a rug pull, as they call it.
It's a rug pull, and it's like the old school pyramid scheme, where it's like, a few people will make money, but most people won't.
I did watch a good video with her about that, explaining it, and it does sound as though basically a load of grifters got hold of her. Like, it's going to be, and she was like, "Oh, this is going to be great for my fans. I love it." Yeah. She's a bit thick.
She's just thick. She's famous for saying she'll spit on a dick. So
spit on a dick. I mean, take whatever you can get. Yeah.
I actually think
I read she had like her first $1 million the other day or something. Really? And I was like, fucking take it. Yeah, do it.
I actually don't hate it too much. I think that's great.
No.
Yeah.
But I did invest in Hawk coin. I reckon I'd be a bit fucking miffed if I invest in Hawk Tour coin.
Yeah. Anyway, that wasn't what we're going to talk about today, is it?
That wasn't what we're going to talk about. We just got on a riff.
Yeah, just a hot riff. Sue us.
Just a hot riff. If you're new, welcome. Okay, this happens a lot.
Hey, strap in. We'll sometimes riff about internet personalities.
Oh, you think we stick to some kind of script over here on Tales from Wales? I don't think so.
Except for when we do our
Except when in about 20 minutes when I actually go to the script.
Yeah. And you'll hear me read, and if I get it wrong, you'll say, for fuck's sake.
And if you don't like it, it was a fucking joke. Okay?
No, when you say it wrong, you swear.
For fuck's sake, it's fucking stupid.
Jack goes from 0 to 100 faster than anyone I've ever met. He's such a chill.
I also go from 100 to 0 quite quick as well.
It's whiplash. Absolute whiplash.
It's quite difficult to be around me sometimes because people can't actually deal with it.
We went to a Carmarthen a couple of weeks ago, and I asked Jack to. When we were locking up, I do this thing where you give me a book or a pen or anything. You turn around for a second, I've lost it. I lose things like in a comically fast way. Or it is comical unless you're David Jack Newby.
Oh, it's comical now. It wasn't fucking comical at the time.
We were checking out the Airbnb, and Jack gave me the key. And then we closed the door, and then he was like, "Where's the key? You got to post it through the letterbox." And I was like, "No, I don't."
No, I remember the first thing you said is, "Do you want to check your pockets?" I was
I knew you were going to
given you
jump
the
in and
key.
say it wrong.
Yeah.
You turned around and you were like, "Where's the key?" And I was like, "I've never seen a key in my life."
What key?
I don't think I don't think I'm the man.
I think I'd know if you gave me a key, Jack.
I mean, it was as quick as that. It was like, right, here you go, Frank. Here's the key. Oh, can you pass that key back? I've never heard of a key in all my life.
A key?
Who the hell do you think I am? And then I said,
I think that's what perplexed me so much. So I was like, I've literally just handed it to you.
I said, hang on, can you just check your pockets? Because I felt my pockets, and my pockets have always got trinkets and like bits of tat in them. So
possible keys, maybe.
And I tapped them, and I felt them, and I put my hand in. I couldn't feel it, but I did also have like a wallet, a scrunched up like napkin, like a penny farthing. And then I was like, Jack, can you just check yours? Because my rationale was I had a big co-op bag as well, full of shit, and I might have thrown it in there. And before digging around a bag like an absolute tramp, I wanted to check it definitely wasn't with you. And you were like, what the hell? There's no chance in hell I'll ever do this.
Look at this from my perspective. I hand you an item, and then I say, "Can I have that item back?" And you say, "Do you want to check your pockets?" It's like, I know for a fact they're not in my pockets. And I remember you saying,
pocket,
and you said, "Well, you can check just to be sure." And I was like, "I am fucking sure." Like, and I will admit, I was aggy because I was, the snip is the perfect word there.
Snipping.
Like, trying my best not to be like losing my head by going, yeah, maybe, but maybe there is a fucking key in my pocket.
You were like, why would I check? And I was like,
why would I check?
Just the process of elimination.
And then you went, process of elimination, I did it. You went, not there. Damn. Where could it be? Wow, but then also imagine if I went, oh shit. Yeah. Imagine I went, it's in my back, but you slipped it in my back pocket.
Where the hell could it be?
Well, I just don't know where it could be. Bear in mind, you had it in your hand 5 seconds prior to that.
Guess we'll never know.
And then we checked your bag, we checked your co-op bag, nothing in there. And then you went, oh, here it is in my pocket.
Here it is, directly in my pocket. Yeah, well, that's just, when I was like, I spent a bit of time traveling, and I had like a really an impractical bag for it. So I did like 4 months doing the west coast to the east coast of America, and I had like a big army duffel bag, but it meant like to get anything from the bottom, you had to open the top of it, go all the way down,
take
to the
everything out, like
And I'm not joking. I started off traveling with a mate, and he was only coming for a month. Then I met this Aussie bloke, and I was traveling with him for a bit. And I met some blokes from like just when you're traveling, you kind of just meet other people and kind of travel. Yeah,
you just like, hitch with them, like
And every single one of them was so stressed out because every new place we went to, I went, "Where's my passport?" And I'd lose my passport because I'd put it somewhere I thought was safe, and then instantly forget. I'd Men in Black myself and wipe my memory and go, "It's so safe." I used to think, if they're trying to torture me,
if I don't know, no one can find it.
No one can get it. So I don't. Yeah, I would always do it. I'd get to the new hostel. I'd unpack my bag. I'd be like, right, here's my passport. I'd be like, where the hell is my passport? What's happened to my
What
passport?
have you done with it?
What have you thieves have taken it? Check your pockets. Empty your pockets right now.
Yeah, open your pockets now.
So I'm a laugh, and you're a stress head. So that means
that's exactly what it is. No, in hindsight, a funny thing to say, but at the time, hungover, I was like, "Wait, you have the keys."
And you were in a. I knew you were rough because when I wanted to wait for Kex to properly open,
I just couldn't.
I'm off. And normally,
do you ever get that feeling where you're like, it's like I have to keep moving like a shark? Like I cannot stop somewhere and wait.
I hate waiting, and if I'm in a car and traffic's happening, I'm never more angry in my life.
That sums it up. It's that feeling of just going, I need to be somewhere, but I can't
as long as you keep moving, everything's going to be...
For the listeners, me and Franks love a bit of Kex. Kex is like Franks' mecca. Like Kex. CEX, some people call it. That's wrong, by the way. But anyway... So we were going to go there and have a look, peruse the physical media.
We went there the day before when I was in the saddest state of my life.
In the pits.
And it did kind of help a little bit. And we liked physical media. We
went to go there, but it was closed, even though Google said it was open. And then when we came back again, it was like kind of open, but they were like, oh, wait a minute. Like we're just opening sort of thing.
They were like an hour late.
Forced to wait outside. And I was just like, mate, I can't. I got to go to this train station. I just got to keep moving, basically.
Yeah. And I stayed. I was rewarded for my efforts because I think I picked up Inside Llewellyn Davis or Llewyn Davis and Interstellar.
God rewards his strongest soldiers.
Yeah, so that was that's another little tidbit from our
But if you want the full story,
head to the page.
we'll never tell.
We'll never tell.
We'll never tell unless you go on the Patreon. But yeah,
maybe we should say what the tiers are as well, actually, so we could let you know.
Yeah, we've got a few new listeners, haven't we? So maybe we should
a bunch
plug
of new
the
people.
Patreon.
So
do you think we're any good at it after like a year and a half of doing it? Because we're always so shit at plugging this Patreon.
We are bad at it, but we did write it down somewhere. So if I look at the podcast status, and also with just people listening, this is a listener-sponsored podcast. We don't do any ads. We don't want to have any kind of sponsorship or ads or anything. So all of this, everything to keep the equipment and keeping the
keep the lights on and all that. Yeah,
it all comes from the listeners, which is incredibly kind and helpful.
Bar TV want to get in touch, fucking finally, and then we will accept that.
Yeah. But we don't have any other. We could have RSS, we could have adverts and stuff like that in there, but we don't really want to. So you can join the.
You got to plug us like we're so fucking noble. Like we deserve the money.
We're Robin Hood over here. But are we keeping that bit in? Maybe we cut.
Do it. Don't worry. This is what you're getting involved in.
All right. It sounds like we've cut out some like horrific stuff. Are we keeping this bit in? Anyway, this is how bad we are at fucking promoting this. We've just spiraled. But there are 3 tiers, or actually 4 tiers. There's one where you pay nothing and you get like behind the scene photos, which we just said we're going to send. So can I just text you, Jack, whilst I remember from the last episode?
Do it. So as a reminder.
And I said I'd send photo of me hugging myself at a conference, right?
Yes.
And then you get tier 1 then, which is £1 a month, which you just get to help support the podcast, and you get like shout outs and producer credits. Tier 2, £5 a month, you get 2 bonus episodes.
The old jibber jabber tier.
Yeah, jibber jabber. So every twice a month you get 2 bonus episodes, which aren't on the normal feed. And then tier 3, which is called the Taily tier, which means family.
Family.
That's £10 a month, and you get 2 bonus episodes. Then after 1 month, you get personalised album art. After 3 months, you get a dedicated episode to your hometown, so you let us know where you're from, and we research and deep dive into where you're from. After 6 months, we turn you into a Welsh legend and make up a Mabinogion tale based on you. After 12 months, you get coat of arms, which you send through 3 traits about yourself, and we make a Welsh
bit of criteria.
House. And then after 18 months, you get one of our T-shirts. And I was also going to say something then about... Oh, there's also the Patreon. Don't sign up via Apple. Sign up. Yeah, so if you're on an iPhone...
Even if you're on an iPhone, go on your browser on like your laptop or something like that and sign up through there rather than through Apple, because they take like a huge chunk.
Yeah,
they pay extra for nothing more.
They charge you 20% extra. We don't see any of that, and they keep all of that. So just go to your browser. It's as easy as going to your browser and doing it right there instead of downloading it from the App Store. And then once you have it, you can download it from the App Store and log in. But
you'll be paying those extra fees then.
Yeah. So just so shut up for a second whilst I explain this clearly, okay?
Yeah.
If you are on Apple, don't download the app and then pay for it that way. Go to the browser, pay that way, and then when you download the app, you don't get charged extra. Otherwise, you have to pay an extra, like maybe, I don't know, £1 a month, which doesn't go to anybody. So, there, hope that's clear.
Save yourself.
Yeah, save yourself, kiss a Welshman. And now, back to it.
Back to the actual stuff.
Yes.
So, I promised last episode I had another story from Dublin.
So lucky.
You are fucking lucky, right? This is probably the better of the 2 stories, I would say, right? So, as
just to remind people, the last story was you ordered a beer.
Hang on. If you go back and listen to the episode, I think you'll find it was quite a good one. One of the better ones. Normally, they're like, for any new listeners, normally they're like, I went to a bloody bar and someone was there was a queue. End of story.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this one, I went over to Dublin last weekend. It was a family event. I've got a group chat with like me, my brother, my dad, my stepmom, my uncle, right? My scumbag uncle. He never replies in that. He's an absolute lurker, right? I assume he just doesn't bother even looking at the messages.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been talking about this for months, all booked over and whatever. On Saturday, me and Amy went down to one of the local bars at the Penny Hill. We frequent all the time when we're over there. Went there, we met up with my dad and my other sister, just waiting there for a quick pint, and then we're going to go back to the house for the party. I went to the bar. I was like, I'm going to go to the loo, get another drink in at the bar. And who do I see in the corner of my eye? My uncle Sean, my shunkle, right? Now, I didn't know if I'd actually seen him or not because I thought, oh, it just looks like the guy looks like him. But I looked at him, I was like, definitely is him. And I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, Sean. And he just went like this to me. Shh.
I'll never tell.
And I went, and he just walked off. And I was like, have I had heat stroke or something? And I was like, I'm going to go to the toilet. I was like, go to the toilet, I'll order my drink. And I said, if he's out there now with the rest of the family, then it was real. If it wasn't, I'm going to have to tell Amy to be like, you're going to have to take me home because I'm seeing things.
Have you ever had those moments where you do think you have a kind of like sudden realization, oh, am I mad? Have I just hallucinated? Like sometimes I'll do something like something just doesn't feel right, and it's really hard to explain. Yeah. It's like that uncanniness. It's like, oh shit, it's my dog.
Sort of like I know what you mean. You know when you walk into a room, you don't know why you walk into it, but it's that like dialed up to 100. I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah, I look at the dog and I'm like, oh shit, it's always. I just get these kind of moments of the pang of like, fuck, am I losing my grip on reality? And I'm
ever so slightly. I'll look at something. And I get a feeling that I've been looking at it for ages, but but I'm like, I don't know if I have because I didn't bother to check the time before and after or whatever. That's the only thing I can sort of relate to on that. But anyway, this happened, and I was like, yes. But anyway, I thought I genuinely was like, did I actually see Sean then? Because then when I was looking back to see where he'd gone, I couldn't see him anymore, and I was like, come on now. And I'd had a bit to drink at this point, so I was like, oh, right. Anyway, went out. Sorry, he was there, so it was real. That's fine. Anyway, we said, oh, bloody hell, have you just gotten over sort of thing like that, because this was a Saturday. Me and Amy had been there. We came over Friday night, but late on the plane, and then just like started our day on the Saturday. He said, oh, yeah, I've been here since Thursday. We went, right, Thursday. And he'd not told anyone.
What?
And they said, right. So what he did is he got into a car. We live down in South East Wales, for everyone who knows, right? You can get, for anyone who doesn't know, you can get a ferry from Holyhead, which is in North Wales, over to Dublin. So he drove on the Thursday morning.
He drove himself?
Drove himself up to Holyhead, left the car there because a walk-on ferry is cheaper, right? Got on the ferry. Got up there first, missed the last ferry. He slept in a bush
my God.
next to the ferry site, right? Then got up and went, I'll just get the first one in the morning.
Why did he sleep in his car?
I don't know. I think it's because it was far away, like the car park to the dock was far away or something. I don't know. I said the exact same thing to him. Why don't you just go back to your fucking car? Yeah. Anyway, then he got up and he was like, I'll get on the first ferry. The first ferry wasn't until 4 p.m. So he just walked around and milled about, right? Got on that then.
Surely go to the pub.
Surely go to the pub, you'd think. But I don't know how close like the dock is to whatever. But anyway, got over. Again, didn't say anything to my dad. Got like taxis into Dublin and all this sort of stuff.
He doesn't strike me as someone who's good at organising this. I'm surprised he.
He's awful.
Well.
He's fucking awful. I suppose
he did miss his
but then he did miss his. He just thought I'd turn up. Surely there'll be one there. Anyway, he got to Dublin then, right? And he only goes to like 2 pubs. One of them, which was the one we met him in, that Penny Hill. The other one's that Courtney's that we go to all the time. So he just said he sat at Courtney's all Thursday and Friday night. Yeah. Didn't tell anyone that he was there, so he was just sat on his own. And then he was like, I really want to surprise my dad.
Yeah.
But I don't want, so he was like, he didn't want to text him to tell him he was there. So he went on Google Maps, right? He knew my dad's address is, I'll make it up now. Yeah. Let's say it's 2 Danes Court Way, right? Yeah. He knew it was Danes Court. He knew that bit of it, but he didn't know the number, didn't know like it was Danes Court Way, Danes Court, Manor, whatever. Yeah. So he just typed in Danes Court into Google Maps and then used the street view on each one in Dublin now, in the whole fucking county of Dublin. And he said, I was just looking for your dad's van on the side of the road on the street view. And I was like, Sean, what if the Google people didn't capture Dad's van? He said, I did think of that, but I knew he had sunflowers out the front, so I kept looking out for them as well.
Did he find the house?
No, because he, luckily in the group where I thought he was lurking and never looked, we said, we're about to go down the Penny Hill. So he just came and met us there. Yeah. What a fucking psycho behaviour that is to like fucking... Like go through. Like how long was he sitting there?
And where was he
Like, just
staying
looking
when
at-
he got into Dublin?
He was saying that this. It wasn't too far from like, my dad's house either. And like if he'd have just messaged my dad, he'd probably come met him for a beer.
That's so
But
weird.
so weird. And I said, well, why didn't you just message him? He said, oh, that would ruin the surprise, wouldn't it? I said, yeah, but this is
You're
weird,
there.
man. So freakish.
I mean, the surprise would be, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here a day early.
I turned up and you guys didn't expect it. That would be the thing. But yeah, it's such a weird thing. And then on the last day, well, our last day then, he was there for a couple more days. I said, oh, you enjoyed your time then, Sean? Whatever. And he said, yeah. He's like, I'm not going to lie. The first couple of days, they were a little bit lonely because I didn't really have anyone to speak to. I said, that's your own fucking fault.
That's so weird.
Your own bloody fault.
Oh, men are weird, aren't they? Men are such...
So true. I don't
Men of a
think it was
certain
men.
age.
Just fucking Sean. My Uncle Sean is just a fucking weirdo.
Right, well, shall we? Talking of one mythical being...
One legendary man. Yeah.
one man who feels more myth than reality. Today's episode is all about a Welsh myth, or a Welsh chwedl, or a Welsh...
It is.
I don't really know because Jack's did the episode. So I'll throw
Yes,
it to
this
you.
is. So, today I'm going to be talking about a Gwyn ap Lludd, or a Gwyn ap Nudd, as he was called way back when. We've talked about this particular Welsh god a couple of times, I think, on previous episodes, mainly in the Tylwyth Teg episode you did, Franks, because he's kind of like the leader of the Tylwyth Teg, which is like for those who don't know, it's like the Welsh, it's like fairy folk, it's like mythical beings type thing. So check that out if you want. And I'm going to talk about one of his more famous stories. But first, a little bit of a recap for who he is. Gwyn was the son of the great Lludd Llaw Eraint, or Lludd Llaw Eraint. He was champion of the three plagues. You might remember him from a previous episode we did on the story of Lludd and Llefelys. Gwyn also had two brothers, Edern and Owain. Not much is known about Gwyn's brother Owain, but Edern actually appears as one of King Arthur's knights in the tale Culhwch and Olwen, which is another like Welsh epic. As Lludd's sons, they can all claim Beli Mawr, the Welsh sun god, as a grandfather, and a whole host of impressive gods as their aunts and uncles. But unlike the rest of his family, who chose to live mostly in the realm of man, Gwyn actually resides in the kingdom of Annwn, which is the Welsh otherworld. Or spirit realm, if you like.
And I do
I do like saying that, yes. Described as a great warrior with a blackened face, Gwyn was a ruler of the otherworld and king of the Tylwyth Teg, the mystical fairy folk of Annwn. While Arawn is king above all in the Celtic spirit realm. He is the king of like the kind of Celtic underworld, or the Welsh Celtic underworld. Lords like Gwyn would preside over portions of his kingdom, just like the lands were divided by kings and rulers of the living world. Gwyn is also unique among his godly family in that he's explicitly described as the leader of the Wild Hunt, a staple in various folklores from across European societies, typically involving a chase. Yeah, Wild Hunt appears so much in European like folklore, but it typically involves a chase led by a
typically, like you were singing.
Typically, it typically involves a chase led by a mythical figure. Chase led by a mythological figure escorted by a ghostly or supernatural group of hunters. In this case, when Gwyn appears in Wales's old stories, he's usually accompanied by the Cwn Annwn, or the Hounds of Annwn, and they are dogs that are pale white hunting dogs with blood red ears. The role as a great hunter is most prominent during the tale of Culhwch and Olwen, as I mentioned before. While not a main character in the ancient epic, his supernatural skills are called upon in order to complete one of the 40 impossible tasks given to the story's hero, Culhwch. One of these tasks is to hunt and slay the dreaded Torch Troith, which is a giant monstrous boar that was created. An old greedy king of Ireland was transformed into this huge boar, and he's a real terror around ancient Welsh Wales. Ancient Welsh myths, sorry. In order to recover the magical comb, scissors, and razor fastened to the Torch Troith's head.
They have like razor tusks already, though.
No, so this is a bit of a weird one. Torch Troith, as a boar, he has like a little tuft of hair, and he's actually got a razor, a comb, and scissors embedded in his hair.
It's like Spider-Pig from The Simpsons.
Exactly like that, right? And one of the impossible tasks he's got to get is to get the grooming kit from
the
this
pig,
monstrous boar's head.
Well, I know sometimes when we first started doing this stuff and researching it, it always felt really abstract. It's like, well, why do you have to kill a goat whilst your foot's in a bath? And it's because I think in these ones, it's like, well, a pig is dirty, so it's quite ironic that a pig has.
It's all about like lateral
grooming.
thinking things and like ironies and it's
poetic,
you got to remember a lot of these stories as well. They're not actually written like a book. They're written like poems or or songs.
Not fallacies, but I know what you mean. They're like they are poetic, aren't they? They're
exactly. They're not sort of like a narrative like me and you might know today, like in a film or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to go into Culhwch and Olwen. I would suggest if you've got any interest in like sort of Welsh mythology or mythology in general, read Culhwch and Olwen. It's a very good thing. It's the closest thing I think Wales has to like an epic, because it's the longest intact story we have. A lot of other things are like quite like tidbits, and like sort of very small sort of short stories. But the Culhwch and Olwen is one of my favourites. But yeah, anyway, so Gwyn in that story is drafted in to help recover the scissors, razor, and comb fastened to the Tortoise's head, because he's obviously a really good hunter because he's the leader of the wild hunt. Anyway, in the same story, though, Gwyn plays a more active role in the events following the abduction of Creiddylad. So Creiddylad was a lady living in King Arthur's court and was considered to be the most beautiful woman on the island of Prydain, or Britain. Gwyn ap Lludd and Gwythyr ap Creiddylad, a knight in King Arthur's court, fell in love with Creiddylad at the same time, which spawned a fierce rivalry between the two. The rivalry reached boiling point when Gwythyr kidnapped Creiddylad from his father's home, sending the master of the hunt into a rage. Gwyn ventured out of Annwn and, under the cover of night, stole Creiddylad back from Gwythyr's home in retaliation, bringing her back to the spirit realm with him. Furious, Gwythyr raised his bannermen and led his army to Annwn to put Gwyn to the sword and claim the object of his affections. Many lives were lost in the ensuing battle, and the fighting would come to a head when Gwyn and Gwythyr faced each other on the field, insisting on settling their feud in single combat. Though hard won, Gwyn emerged victorious, causing Gwythyr to flee back to the realm of men, but not before the Lord of Annwn took two of Gwythyr's noblemen captive, a father and a son called Lludd and Creiddylad. Although Gwyn ap Lludd had won the day, he was incensed by the arrogance of his enemy in daring to march upon his home. With the true object of his fury absent, his wrathful gaze turned instead to Lludd and Creiddylad. On the stone floors of his unearthly hall, Gwyn drove his sword through Lludd's chest, punishing for the loyalty he had shown to his rival. Creiddylad fell to his knees and held his father as the last gasp. A broken Creiddylad, forced into this grotesque act by the edge of Gwyn's sword and the tip of his guard's spears, dug at the wound in his father's chest. As the young lord clawed at Lludd's chest, sanity slipped further and further from the grasp of his mind. Finally, as Lludd's body lay in a mess of gore, his torso prized open, Creiddyl's mind snapped and he became as feral as a beast, devouring his father's heart like a ravenous dog. Gwyn and his retinue drove him from the keep, and from then on the young lord was known as Creiddylad Wyllt, or Creiddylad the Wild in English, a madman that roamed the wilds of Annwn. After so much death, King Arthur himself intervened in this escalating rivalry. He determined that neither had... You've got to get the big boss in. You've got to get the middle manager in to get it sorted out. He determined that neither had earned... Yeah, imagine Arthur with the Karen hairstyle depicted in Excalibur. You know, that director Dan's doing.
Yeah.
It's an aesthetic choice, you know, he's middle management. So Arthur, he determined that neither had earned the right to claim Creiddylad as their own, and that each Calan Mai, which is the Welsh May Day, basically first day of spring, the two would have to duel until first blood. The victor would keep Creiddylad for an entire year until the next winter's end, when the two would battle again. They were to repeat this annual combat until the end of time, and whichever warrior was victorious on the final Calan Mai in existence could keep Creiddylad in whatever form of existence continued. After the arrangement was struck, Gwyn ap Lludd was actually tasked with keeping a brood of devils from Annwn at bay, lest they conquer the land of the living, and this task would be all-consuming, only breaking from his duty once a year to duel for Creiddylad. So that's the basic story of Gwyn and Creiddylad. But for some extra little
brutal.
tidbit, yeah, it is. It actually stands out as a bit of a more brutal
Yeah.
one of the Welsh mythology. But to give you a little bit of extra tidbits for your mythology nerd mates. So Gwyn ap Lludd was sometimes referred to the White Son of the Mist, which I thought was a pretty fucking cool nickname. This particular story, as we just said, then is a bit of a rarity, and there is some really horrible like consequences for some normie mortals that go into Annwn. In this case, that coloured yr Anwython. Usually in these stories, like only the really brave and like almost magical heroes or gods would like go into Annwn and like and come out victorious. Or it was like a sort of they had a task, they'd go in and they were fully capable of doing it. Where it's rare you hear about like a normal person really going into Annwn, but this is like one of those rare ones where a normal person goes in, or a couple of normal people go in, and they get a real bad rap of it. And if the fate of Coloured yr Wyllt was a bit too gnarly for you, you'll be happy to know that despite his madness brought on by Gwyn's punishment, he's eventually found by King Arthur, who restores his sanity and even allows him to join his rank of knights, where he's used as like he becomes like a kind of berserker type fighter. Before berserkers were a thing, they didn't use that word, but like he uses that like sort of mad rage, to like
nutter,
sort of be good.
Nuts.
Send the nutter in, send the taphead in. As the Welsh master of the wild hunt as well, Gwyn can be compared to a number of similar figures from other cultures, as I mentioned earlier. And there's also a really good parallel between him, or this story rather, and the story of Hades and Persephone from Greek mythology. So for those who don't know, Persephone in Greek mythology was stolen away by Hades because he was so in love with her. Persephone's mother, Demeter, who is the god of the harvest, or goddess of the harvest rather, is distraught by this and petitions Zeus to get her back. Zeus sends Hermes as a messenger to tell Hades to give Persephone back, but while she was there staying with Hades, she ate a pomegranate while in the underworld, and because of all the mythological rules back then, if you eat or drink something from the underworld, you're not allowed to leave. So Hades comes to a deal with Hermes and Zeus, and he says that Persephone can spend half of the year in the underworld with him and the rest of the year with Demeter, her mother. When she's away with Hades, her mother gets all depressed and joyless, and as she's the god of the harvest, it leads to all the leaves of the trees falling off, the petals of plants to wither and die, and for crops to fail and things like that. And then when Persephone returns, her mother's happiness causes spring flowers to blossom, crops to grow, until she repeats the cycle again and goes back to Hades, which is like the ancient Greeks' reason for like the turning of the cycle of the seasons.
Oh yeah.
And depending on which of these stories you read, which version of these stories you read as well, with Gwyn and Creiddylad, Creiddylad is sometimes linked to spring and good harvest. And when Gwythyr wins the fight, who's the man who lives in the real world, if she comes over to there, then it's a much more prosperous year for the harvests and like for growing crops and things like that. If Gwyn wins, it's usually like a worse haul from the crops and whatnot, because it's kind of like the winter stuff. Later stories actually change Gwyn and Gwythyr to be the Holly King and the Oak King as well, which are like personifications of winter and summer. I chose to do this version to not make Creiddylad Gwyn's sister as well, which she is in some versions. So if you're new to mythology, you might not realize how prevalent incest is in these kinds of stories. But basically, if you look at like any Norse myth, Greek myth, any ancient myth really, there's lots of incest in it. But the reason for it is basically if you wanted like to have a god child, and there's only like 5 or 6 of you, or like 12 in Greek, for example, you have to basically shag each other to get like a pure god child. Otherwise, you just get demigods, which are like not as powerful. Demigod. So yeah, that's why But I thought for this one, I'd leave out the fact that Creiddylad is sometimes Gwyn's sister, and thought I'd just fancy this like strange woman. But there we are. That's the that story of Gwyn ap Nudd, or Gwyn ap.
That's probably one of my faves.
And Creiddylad. It's quite brutal, isn't it? Yeah. It's quite brutal. I could see a good like a really like a gory anime, you know, like Vinland Saga.
Yeah.
I could see that being like made out.
Have like a anthology of some of these stories. Because
if I had money, mate, I would make like a Mabinogion anthology thing. They don't necessarily have to be too connected.
No,
we just tell the stories like.
But yeah, I reckon, I think they work as an anime as well because they're fucking nuts. So you couldn't really bring it to life with human people as much because, like, it'd be
Because you'd
quite
be
hard
all
to-
these you'd have to literally adapt it to a screenplay, wouldn't you, and
Yeah.
make it make sense.
Yeah.
Like you go,
And
oh,
just,
you,
like-
you know, the little comb in the fucking pig's head, of course, and
and
then
having
you'd
all
have
the
to explain it.
beasts and have like
Yeah.
just making a drawing of a pig with the hair would work, but having it in real life would look a bit psycho.
It'd look a bit silly, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I enjoyed that one. Should we wrap up and get onto the Patreon? So if you want to carry on listening, we're going to switch over to the Patreon right now. So diolch yn gwrando. If you got this far, please do drop us a 5-star review, share it with your mates, tell your mother, tell your brother, tell your sister,
Tell your mother, your brother, tell her all.
Yeah, alright, ta-da.
Cheers, lot, ta-ta.
Telling I till we tell.